All right, guys, let's get started. So this one would be an application, right, of domain and range. So for example, here it just says the Great Wheel is being built in Beijing in the People's Republic of China. When finished, it will be the largest Ferris wheel in the world. The wheel will have a diameter of 193 meters and will reach a maximum height of 208 meters. The graph shows a rider's height relative to the ground for a 20-minute ride through one rotation, right? So the Ferris wheel completes one rotation, then stops. What is the domain and range of the graph? So can you guys picture or visualize domain and range with this concept?
Yeah.
Right? So domain is going to represent what piece of the puzzle here? Time. And the range is going to represent the height. Good. So do you still need to do a tiny bit of work to figure out those numbers? Yeah, so you need to still read the question and make sure we understand where it starts and where it stops for time, and where it starts and where it ends for height. Okay? So let's do I think the time one's going to be the easiest one. So how long does the ride last? 20 minutes. So where do we start for time? 0, right? So really, domain goes from C to D. Would you guys agree with that? So I know that C is 0, and we stop at 20. Because it said that the ride lasted for 20 minutes. So that would be my domain. What I have, if I use interval notation, am I using square brackets? You betcha. So 0 to 20. I'm going to write both, not that I needed to, but I will do both for review purposes. So then if I use set notation, so it's greater than or equal to 0, but less than or equal to 20, and I'm going to change my variable. Just because it's time, I want to use a t instead. Could you use x? Could you guys use x if you wanted to? Yeah, because their axis isn't actually labeled, so I could have used x. It's just bothering me because it's time. So I'm going to change it to a t instead. Now my range. So this one for height, it does say the wheel has a diameter of 193, and will reach a maximum height of 208. So I know for sure this A value is what? That is definitely 208.
Yeah.
But what's this B value? Which is what?
Probably like
Pardon?
15.
What are you saying? 15? How did you get 15? So Donald just said he took 208 and subtracted 193, and he got 15. Is he correct? Because what does diameter mean? Diameter means, just think of the Ferris wheel is the circle, right? The top is the top of the Ferris wheel, and the bottom is the bottom, obviously, right? So we know that from the top to the bottom of the Ferris wheel is 193. So we subtract that, and we'll get to the bottom. Does it make sense the bottom of the Ferris wheel isn't at 0?
Yeah.
Because we don't get on the Ferris wheel right on the ground, right? It wouldn't be able to rotate. You go onto a platform, and then you get on. Okay. Right, so there would be my lovely range. So from 15 to 208. And then if you write your other notation, I changed my variables, not that you needed to. So for range, it's distance. So distance such that my distance is greater than or equal to 15, but less than or equal to 208.
equation for the domain, what does it say like t is equal to 10 minus 10 less than or equal to t less than or equal to 10? Like,
So did you watch the video last night?
I kind of did.
Yeah. So go watch the video. So this is our set notation. So this is saying that time is bigger than, right? So greater than or equal to 0.
Oh, that's 0. I was asking why is it like 10?
Oh, that's no.
Yeah.
This is a such that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't know why that extra little piece
Yeah,
is
that was
there.
what I thought.
Oh, yeah, no, it has two. I think when I erased the X and put my T, I put another such that. Now I understand why you're confused, Angela. Yeah. So there only should be one such that symbol, not two. Thank you for fixing that. All right, so now we're going to scroll and do some more word problem style domain range questions. Right, when you don't physically have the graph right in front of you. So just a quick warm up, you guys go ahead and do those 3 examples. Because do you guys agree I still have a picture here? Yeah. Notice here how I'm not asking you specifically which way to write it. So that means you have a choice. Write it whichever way you want to write it. Right? So I'm not forcing you set notation or interval notation. Lists, you're kind of forced, but are any of these lists or any of these discrete data? No, none of them are discrete data, so you go ahead and do those quickly, and I will do them as well, but I'm not going to speak anymore. So we'll all come back together in like 4 minutes, not even. So are we good with all 3 of those? Yeah, Ty? Yeah. You have to follow the pattern. Yep. because that's the only information you're given, so you have to assume it's not all of a sudden going to go straight up the other side. So, yes, the pattern will continue. Any other questions? Are we good with those three? Okay, so again, I wrote both every time just so you can double check your own. But please, guys, I know that one you'll favor over the other, and I'm not saying which one you're going to like more versus the other, but it is important that you get comfortable with both. So important, okay? So, yeah. Yeah. Better? Thank you. So go ahead and read example 2. I just have to change a couple of tenses. So go ahead and try example 2, and then we'll talk in 30 seconds here. All right. So for this one, does anybody want to share what they would say the domain is? And remember, who cares if it's wrong? Yeah, Ty, what would you say the domain is? So yeah, so domain is definitely going to be representing the h variable. But now what values would, like, if we actually wrote, so h is definitely going to be our x, which is going to be part of the domain, and then s is going to be part of the range. But what values? Because we're asked defined between these two hours, right? So, yeah, Josiah, do you want to tell me what you think the what, sorry? Yep, so the domain will be on the h-axis. Perfect. So do you guys agree that the 15 and 35 will be on the h-axis, which is the horizontal? So this one we're specifically wanting to know, right, how much between 15 and 35 hours. So that will be the domain. So in this scenario, our domain is between 15 and 35. Now with this, I actually want to have a conversation. I'm going to write something down and then we're going to talk. So h such that 15 is less than or equal to h, which is less than or equal to 35. And then, now this is the piece I want to talk about. So he makes $7 an hour. So if I write my notation like we did just right here, I want you to tell me if it's right or if it's wrong. Can I use this notation? Will he get paid? This is a conversation. I could go either way. Can he get paid for 7.1 hours? Can he get paid for 7.16 hours? So would this kind of fall under more discrete data than continuous data? So if that's the case, I would say yes as well. I know that he can get paid maybe 7.5, but all points in between don't have meaning. Do you guys agree with that? So therefore, I would give you guys more information on this. We're going to add, just so we're for sure okay with our domain, I'm going to say he can only get paid per hour. So anything would round to the nearest hour. Does that make sense? Just for the domain reason. Just because are we going to have a problem if we can do 7.5, but we can't do 7.2? Yes. So we're going to say for this question, I would add it in next time, so there's no reasonable doubt, is that he can only get paid for a full hour. So they would always round, even though I know that's not logistically correct. So therefore, if that's the case, I can still use this notation, but then I'm going to go, H is an element of whole numbers. Now, what about my range? How do I figure out the first amount? Yep. So how do I figure out the first amount? He makes how much an hour, guys? $7 an hour, and we're calculating his earnings between what and what? 15 and 35. So to figure out his minimum amount he earned, we take 15 times 7. So if we go 15 and times it by 7, that'll give me 105. We go 35, sorry, times 7, 245. So that would be our 105 and our 245 would be our range numbers. Okay, yeah, you just put it on my desk. Then we have our S. So that one, I don't actually really like that question very much. Do you guys understand why? There's just too much ambiguous between. Yes, it can only be whole numbers, but I don't like it. I'll probably take it out for next time, just because we know that it is discrete data, but it's hard to write it in these notations, and I don't want to write all the numbers out, because is that quite a few numbers I have to do if I'm going between 15 and 35 hours? Yeah. So I'd rather do this as a discrete question and then make these numbers tinier. I might go between 15 and 20, and then I only have to do how many data values? 5. So in the end, I don't like this question. Just because to me it's very discrete and it needs more information. Right. But it's still a good conversation piece. All right, so example 3 just says, suppose that a marble is dropped from a window that is 64 feet above the ground and that the marble strikes the ground after 2 seconds. State the domain and range for the time the marble is released to the time it hits the ground. So is this one pretty straightforward? So again, domain deals with which piece? X-axis. In this situation, the problem is time, and then our range is going to be distance. Right, so our domain, yeah, it's distance, right? Because it's being dropped, distance in feet. So domain, how long does it take for the marble to hit the ground? 2 seconds. So it starts at 0 and it goes to 2. And what's my range? 6. So yeah, Josiah? So if I write it in my brackets, though, I have to go. Because can I do this? Okay, good. Because it is 64 to 0 would be the range, but when we write it in notation, what has to go first? Smaller number. Pardon? I can't hear you. So the marble strikes the ground after 2 seconds. So that means, how about we change that hits the ground at? Would that make you happier? Perfect, I agree. All right. So example 4 just says the ball is thrown from 7 feet off the ground. The ball flies through the air and reaches a maximum height of 20 feet and hits the ground in 2.3 seconds. State the domain and range for the time the ball is released to the time it hits the ground. So again, our domain. So what's our domain? 0 to 2.3. And what kind of brackets? So time the ball is released to hit the ground. And then my range. So range would be? So this one, read carefully, guys. Read it one more time. So remember, range is distance. So you guys were, I just heard 2 different things happening. So it does get released from 7, but it hits a maximum at where? 20. But does it go back down to where? 0. So it will be from 0 to 0 to 20. Because look at, guys, this is the path. If you're kind of visualizing the picture, do you guys agree it looks like that? Where this is 7, this is 20, and this is 0, and this is 2.3. So my domain is from 0 to 2.3. My range is from 0 to 20. So this 7, yes, it's released from that, but does it go past it on its way down? Yes. So it will be from 0 to 20. All right. So normally what we're going to do today is you will have this quick little assignment. Some of you have done it already. Is the day 3 one, which is still just some normal graphs. It has a answer key to it. And then what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to hand you out a cumulative review today. That's not due. I'm not giving you a time that it's going to be due yet, because there's going to be some stuff on the cumulative review that we haven't done yet, because it's going to be up to the end of this unit. But I want to hand it out now so you can slowly work on it. So it's not one big assignment all of a sudden that you have to get done in a day. So once you're done this day 3 assignment, you can work on your cumulative review, and you'll just work on all the questions that you know how to do, which will be lots. But just realize there will be some that you won't know how to do. So this first, and like I said, I'll come around and hand out your cumulative.